Hey everyone, it's Robert A. and Pastor Jax. Thanks for going M.I.A. with us this week. We appreciate you being here. For those of you who are just joining us this week, we welcome you, and I'll just take a second to explain what M.I.A. is about. M.I.A. is a mental illness awareness group where we bring support to people who are struggling with day-to-day issues in their lives. It may be anything from anxiety or serious complications and disorders to just everyday stress in life. We want to create an environment where people feel safe, people feel supported, and people can get real access to real life ways to help change our perspective and the way we conduct ourselves on a day to day basis.
So please remember, no content on this channel, regardless of date, should ever be used as a substitute for direct medical advice from your doctor or other qualified clinician. If you feel the need to seek medical advice or are having suicidal thoughts, you must seek professional help immediately. Reach out to your primary care physician, your local emergency room, or the National Suicide Prevention Line at 1-800-273-8255.
Thanks, Pastor Jackson. That's very important. We're very excited for this week. It's been a busy week for both of us, actually, and I'm sure for you as well. But we're very excited about the topic that we're going to be discussing today because I think that everybody can relate to it. And that topic is secondhand trauma, experiencing trauma that someone else may be going through, but you are impacted by. And a lot of times we turn our blinders to trauma that isn't directly tailored to our own being. Yo, look how sweaty I am, yo. Talking about anxiety. Crazy. I'm in the
Protect
right group.
yourself.
I'm
Don't
in
take
the
yourself.
right group. But glasses foggy.
You're talking about the right thing.
So anywhere from anxiety to dealing with someone who may be depressed, and you may have a loved one that you are dealing with. It's very interesting, CJ. When I was in Tampa, I met a guy who was staying at my hotel, and I had my Go M.I.A. shirt on because I actually wear mine. And he said, nice
It's
shirt.
not. I don't. No. Okay. Cool.
And he complimented my shirt, and we started talking about M.I.A. And he started to tell me about um, what he deals with dealing with his wife in terms of her struggle with mental illness. And I just sat and I watched and I listened to how traumatized he was trying to love somebody through their trauma. And a lot of times, I think the bystanders, the innocent bystanders, or the people around those that are struggling, often have some residual effect as well. And I think that's
Yeah.
important to talk about.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to
Yeah.
be able to normalize so that people can know, you know, um, healing, know how to recognize secondhand trauma and know what to do with it. As both educators, we both know fully like what secondhand trauma is, um, in terms of dealing with kids that you
Yeah.
love and that you want to support, and they just have some stuff that really starts to impact you. And I know you had tons of experiences with secondhand trauma. Did you want to share anything to get the conversation going? But before you do, make sure that you all are here if you are willing to comment in the comment section and share your experiences with secondhand trauma as well. We have an anonymous chat that I'm going to be putting in the comments right now. If you prefer to use the anonymous chat, please do so. Chanel says, good evening. Hey, Chanel, thanks for being here. Um, Pastor Jackson and I both appreciate you. And if you're here also, let us know in
Appreciate
the chats. We want to know who's here with us. So Pastor, have you ever had any experience with this? Well, I know you have. Do you want to share any of that experience that you have had?
it. Yeah. Uh. I'll never forget a time when my mother, she was having kidney surgery,
Mm,
and actually she was having one of her kidneys removed after
mm,
having had so many surgeries. And I was out back with a friend of mine in our yard, just kind of talking and having a good time. And my mom came outside, and this may have been 2 days before her surgery. And my
mm,
mom came outside, and she said to me something I'll never forget. She said, in kind of a deranged manner, she said, "Why can't you be having your kidney removed?
mm,
Why do I have to go through this? Why couldn't it be you. And I knew that wasn't my mother speaking, because my mother
Mm-hmm.
would never speak to me like that, and my mother would never wish upon me. She would take my illness and burden before me, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. So I
Absolutely.
knew that at that moment her mind had caused her to believe, like, oh my God, like, and I don't want to put any any medical term on it, but I knew that she had projected it upon me, and it caused me to feel immense trauma, because my question then become, why couldn't it be me?
Mm-hmm.
And if she needed a kidney, why wasn't I a match? Or why not me? And then to know years later, to lose my mom overnight to renal failure and other complications, it's devastating to know that, you know, maybe things could have been different.
Yeah. It's interesting that you share that because I don't think people realize the amount of secondhand trauma that they experience. Growing up, my aunt pretty much did the same thing to me, but like on a weekly basis. Um, Her son, my cousin,
Wow.
was killed when I was 15, and she would always say like, "Why couldn't it be you? You know, you doing the same stuff that he does. Why did he have to die?" And really, that started to really impact me because I already felt that way myself. Um, but to have someone project that trauma onto me really like compounded it and compacted it. I know she wasn't speaking on the same thing. It was something else that was. I mean,
Yeah.
she wasn't the nicest to me anyway. But that was something that was not that was something else, and that's what we're going to talk about a little later. That's when we
Yeah.
start to see trauma transition into traumatizing or being traumatic. Everybody in life
Yeah.
experiences trauma, be it secondhand or firsthand, but it's what we do with that trauma that really either brings healing or brings traumatic experiences and traumatization. Ava has checked in. She said, "Hi everyone. Hey Ava,
Hey,
thanks for joining us
Ava.
this week." Courtney B. Coke said, "Good evening. Thanks for joining us again, Courtney. You haven't been with us since
Hey,
like week
Courtney.
2 or week 3, so
Oh, you
we're glad you're
clocking
back.
summertime. She trying to get a
Get her, yo.
vacation or
Get
something.
her,
I feel
yo. No, get her, yo."
no, I'm not gonna touch the L, not right now.
Thank you, Courtney, for joining us. So secondhand trauma. This is the
Hey,
topic for
Courtney.
tonight, and I know it's a topic that we actually alluded to on another topic before in the comment section, and we spent a lot of time speaking on secondhand trauma. And really, tonight we want to focus on dealing with that secondhand trauma and being able to push through and be able to heal ourselves from it. Um, so one of the things that I have been studying, I don't want to, make it seem like I created this, is the healing of secondhand trauma. Um, and what's that smirk for?
Because you very well have the creative mindset. So as I'm listening, I'm thinking maybe he did create it. Go ahead.
No, sometimes I speak like it's mine, and I want to make sure I'm being mindful of that. But
Excuse me.
so the premise or the key to healing secondhand trauma going forward in life, not looking at the past, but going forward, is to be able to experience trauma. Yo, I am balling, bro. You see this? I came from the water park, and the air is on. But anyway.
Can you not do this? Because what that's going to cause me to do is that's going to cause me to cook, right? And then the viewers are going to say, yo, why he always cooking you, yo? And
And
then
I'll never
I'm going to
reply.
get a bad rap.
I always take the
Huh?
Jesus route. I always take the Jesus route. Don't reply. Keep pushing on. So do what you need to do, but
Call me Peter. I'll
you
be
go
Peter
cut
Dunn.
somebody. Yeah, you do a lot of cutting.
Come on,
Uh,
somebody.
Ava says
Okay.
sometimes secondhand trauma is not just somebody being mean to you or rude. It's just feeling the weight of a situation and making it a burden on yourself. Yeah, absolutely, and that's the important piece. That putting that burden on yourself. That's when you transition that trauma into a traumatic or traumatizing experience, and that's when you develop triggers, and it's a downward spiral from there. The burdening, making it a burden on yourself, is really like the rehearsing of that trauma, and like Clarence was talking about, like why couldn't it have been me? Why couldn't I have been a match? You know, for this situation, or why wasn't it me? I would gladly take it on, just like she would gladly take it on. So that rehearsing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clarence, of that trauma begins to set into your spirit, and it starts to create a downward spiral, right? And it starts to begin to dictate other thoughts. And I don't want to speak for you, Clarence, but is that can you relate to that statement?
That's absolutely accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, bro. Can I just say this on at the onset? I am, and I think you know this. I think I am not naturally an emotional person, but this topic right here is really awakening. Just as we slowly peel back the pieces, it is seriously awakening some things, man. Because secondhand trauma runs so deep in the black
Mm-hmm.
community,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, I mean, literally think about, you know, the black being dark skinned versus being light skinned,
Mm-hmm.
and how persons were made to feel a way because they didn't look like a certain side of the family, and that's one of the things my mother had to deal with, if I can be honest. And so here she is, high yellow and all, and it's like, who does yellow think she
Right.
is,
Right.
right? And because of because of their whomever impacted that upon her, because of their trauma with white people or yellow to whomever, now she's been and now handed that down upon, and so as we're dealing with it, man, it is really causing me to like open up that box. That's like, whoa,
And it's crazy too with that
whoa.
colorism, with light skinned people not being black enough or white
Why
enough.
are you sweating so much, yo?
I've been at work all day. I've had so let me tell you something. It was really hard for me to mentally push myself to do this today. I've had such a rough week, such a rough day. I'm probably gonna sweat for a month. That's how I get the trauma out of me. I sweat the trauma out, right? The trauma got to pass
You're
out.
experiencing firsthand. Are you experiencing firsthand or secondhand trauma right
So
now?
so so watch this, viewers. I don't want y'all to think like I'm joking. Clarence, was I sweating before I hit go live?
Yes. I mean,
But
no. I mean, yes.
was I sweating like
You were, because
this?
you was like, you weren't quite like this, but you
No, no,
said to
no.
me before you
My
pressed the
glasses
button, you
were
was like,
fogging
yeah,
up.
right.
Yeah,
Now,
it's I don't know. It's just something about being on this joint. But we got some comments in the comment section. Brittany Southers is here. Brittany, well, I won't share, but Brittany is a good friend of mine. She's had an amazing mental health
I've
journey
heard her name.
in terms of building. She's a artist and an interior designer, so you might have heard her somewhere. Thanks for joining us, Brittany.
I've heard that.
Chanel said, my uncle had a rare cancer, and days before he passed, they asked me to do a blood test to see if I'm a match with him. And I was second guessing if I wanted to do it or not. Once I said, yeah, I'll do it. My mama called and told me he had passed, and I felt I didn't wait. I felt if I didn't wait so long, I could have helped. So for a while, I put myself down. That's a perfect example, Chanel, of that secondhand, how that trauma can become traumatizing or become traumatic for you. Because reliving that moment over and over again about how you could have potentially, and I do say potentially because I think we're hard on ourselves in terms of knowing what our reach is and what our ability is. But you assume that you could have, been some good, and so you really start to judge yourself and really start to push yourself in the box and really start to cause yourself to go on a downward spiral. Like you said, I saw for a while I would put myself down, and the recycling of those thoughts and that energy is really what pushes us into traumatic states. And then, like for me, when things like that would happen to me, because I've had things like that happen to me in my life, it would cause me, as a response to the trauma, to not want to build deep relationships with people. I felt like every time I built a deep relationship to someone, they died, they got killed. And so it was like, I'm not going to build relationships with people because it's me. Every time I get around somebody, they're good until I'm there, and then they're gone. And so that's the recycling of that energy, Chanel, is really what reinforces that. And I appreciate you for sharing it. And I also encourage you in that time, because that's not something you ever really get over, or you move past. But there is healing in it. And I wish you the best, and I hope what we share for between now. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but what we share between now and the end of this call will help you to some degree. What do you think about that, Clarence?
Yeah, yeah, I would say the same thing, and I would also ask of her if she would respond to us in the inbox or whatever, however we can set that up, so that we can follow up with her.
All right, I'll start a
Encouraged.
three-way chat. I'll start a three-way chat after this, and you can do your passive thing. Um, but I think yeah, I think
We gotta do it all virtually now, bro. So we
yeah,
gotta,
everything is virtual, bro. Everything,
yeah.
everything. Soon we're gonna have to go to the bathroom virtually. But Ava said, I meant feeling the weight of someone else's trauma. Yeah, we gathered that, Ava. I apologize
Hey,
if I read it wrong, but we did gather that. What's up?
no, sub three Ava's coming again. We can't go off on the tangent.
Oh no, she just was correcting a typo in her
Oh,
comment, but
okay.
I had already corrected it for. Brittany said, "Woo Lord." I guess speaking about her journey to being healthy, it is man. She has a powerful story. She said, "Woo Lord," but thank you. Glad to be here. We're glad that you're here. We hope you join us each week. We know this is the first time you're being here with us, but we hope you enjoy the conversation and glean something from it. Comment in the comment section. I don't have anybody in the anonymous chat yet, but comment in the comment chat section if you'd like to share some type of trauma, secondhand trauma that you may have experienced. I know when we talked about trauma class, we had a lot of teachers on the call, and a lot of teachers were talking about dealing with that secondhand trauma, um, you know, with their students in urban education. Really, man, secondhand trauma is more dominant than primary trauma. So things happen to people around us that affect us a lot more than they actually happen to us. Um, like
Mm.
people don't realize that death is secondhand trauma. We didn't die,
Yeah.
right? Someone around
Yeah.
us that we love, that we care for, that's trauma that we experience by someone else's condition. Um, and that really becomes tricky because the outside world is, in essence, more dominant in terms of detriment than the inside world, right? Um, I just feel like when put in place, people can really start to what you looking up, but people can really start to put
I
interventions in
want.
place,
Yeah. Yeah.
huh?
No, I wanted to reference something that's in the
I know.
media,
I'm asking
but
what you looking up.
I can't. Uh,
Just like there's a book called Secondhand Trauma for
no, it
Me.
isn't. There's a book called Secondhand Trauma 117, and no,
That's how you be, yo.
Kim K is what you say?
That's how you be.
Yeah, that's how I be.
Mm-hmm.
But my finger's just long though, right?
No comment. I don't roast people on it. I do it after the call. I come after the call.
Um, Kim K, she's experienced some secondhand trauma.
Mm-hmm.
She
Absolutely.
just came out and talked about the whole and everybody has their opinion about Kanye, just the entity that is Kanye. I'm not even going
Right.
to just say about this and that president
Right.
and this. So the entity that is Kanye, and so most recently he said some things in South Carolina that I will not quote, not because
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid to misquote, but it's not worthy of saying again. And so him saying that, and just some other things, people started to boo, and this viral video came out, and then ultimately Kim K came out and she was like, you know what, guys? Not only do we know that Kanye has mental health concerns, the other thing is he's already admitted that he don't want to take the prescribed medication because
Mm-hmm.
he feels as if it robs him of his genius.
Right.
The third thing is he has the power to do and say whatever he wants when he wants, and the legal opportunity to get out of any kerfuffle that he may find himself in. But the bad part about it all is it creates a negative stigma on his family more than even him. Because
Mm-hmm.
when somebody is, and I hate to put it this way, but when somebody in your family or in the community is already seen by everybody as out there, I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
say it any other way, like something wrong, and when they seem like that, you kind of have the stigma, you kind of carry that burden as well. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because here you are out here thinking that you're doing your thing, and here comes cousin so so,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know it. And I'm not talking about it, but I'm talking about my cousins from Sandtown. Let me just say that. All right, let me put it that way. That way, what nobody think I'm talking about. I'm talking about everybody in Sandtown.
Cause oh,
And so here comes somebody from Sandtown, and it's like, and so Kim, and so I put that out there and say, all of us are dealing with it in so many different ways. And in that instance, it's somebody who needs some help, who refuses to get help, and can't nobody make them. And now the family is, I was on Twitter the other day, and I know my 90 seconds is up, but I was on Twitter the
I
other
didn't
day,
even start the
and there
timer,
was
bro.
a
You talking
picture.
good stuff.
Okay, but there was a picture where Kim K and Kanye were in their vehicle driving somewhere, but obviously the tabloids had gotten, and you could see her in the passenger seat, and she's bawling, crying, and he in the driver's seat doing as he do, trying to explain his Kanye isms, and it's not. I can't even hear the conversation, but I can just look at it and see here he is doing his thing.
Right.
She's trying to drill into him, Kanye, no, bruh, you need help. And he's saying, no, I just need to do another album. No, Kanye, no. And so this, secondhand trauma can be seen in so many different ways. And that's one
Yeah,
of the
and
ways that we
that's
see it.
important too, man. Because remember, you all like Kim always has to explain, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you deal with this? And it's like, well, now I got to explain to everybody that we're not getting a divorce. He's just going through it. That embarrassment and that constant rehashing. That's when trauma turns traumatic, right? And that's when it starts to have residual effect. Not to say that she should make any tough decision in life, but that's when that secondhand trauma can really become dangerous for himself, for his children. And to be honest, bro, when I was listening to you talk, I really used to be that way, and it was just like, wow, like it just shows me like how much I've grown in terms of just the mental health journey and being able to bring healing to myself. Because I used to take medicine, and it was a voluntary medicine. It was prescribed, but it was voluntary. But it did rob me of my genius, I felt like. But then I really had to build the necessary skills to be able to regulate myself and be able to be healthy and not traumatize those around me. Um, Chanel said thank you. And okay, she'll be waiting for us to jump to her DMs later.
Oh, I.
Sam, my man Sam is here. And my man Sam got something to say.
Oh, boy.
My man Sam got something to say. He said, I was about to ask about about any reading suggestions. So you slipping.
Thank you, Sam.
You slipping.
No, I had to bring it back a bit. Because y'all be playing me. Y'all know what I'm reading, though. I ain't gonna lie.
Y'all know what I'm reading, though. I'm starting your timer.
For real, I gave this
Timer
book
started.
4 chapters today. It took me about 2.5 hours. You know what I'm reading? That really is helping me address secondhand trauma in America. The miseducation of the Negro.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's not your first time reading that, though.
No, no. But as he goes through the stories and how he explains, and how he's talking to different sections of the community in the Black in the African diaspora, it's really helping me to understand how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
And he is breaking it down to the T about how do you think these systematic racist policies were put in place that now cause us secondhand trauma. How do you think you can't buy certain homes in certain communities if you're a certain color? And
right.
So if you really want to know what I'm reading this week, my goal is to finish it by Friday, is the Miseducation of the Negro by what's his name, William Irvhard Dubois. Yeah. And so pick it up.
5,
Audible, Amazon,
4, 3,
your local
2, 1. Give Clarence a hand for adhering to his time. All right, clap for Clarence. Good job, Clarence.
Thank you. Sheesh.
So, Sam, I just wanted to acknowledge you, Sam, because most of the guys on our live text me instead of commenting in the comments, so I appreciate it. I try to get them to comment. Not that we don't appreciate the women that join us every week and comment with us, but we do want to get some diversity in the comments. So I appreciate you commenting, Sam, because um, we need it. And I especially appreciate you commenting what you did particularly. So I said I'm gonna put the points up on this board too, CJ. This the points board. Albany's here.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah,
Albany.
I need a
Albany. Well, I won't.
Albany. Hey, what's up?
Yeah. She said, I agree. My family knows that I cannot emotionally handle things that happen, and they will wait to tell me until the very last minute. I'm the last to find out about deaths, cancer, etc. But then I end up processing and being in shock alone. Yeah, that's traumatic,
I got a
Albany.
question for Albany real quick.
Go ahead.
Because what it sounds like is because of past experiences with telling her things in the moment, they have learned as a family to protect her sensibilities by not telling her immediately, waiting until the final call to say, hey,
Right.
this is what's going on. And it sounds like that's what the family has done to protect her. I want to know, is
That's what
that
they think
something that,
protects her.
right, my question is that something that she wanted or tried or communicated at some point, or is that just something that they did and now you like, look, still tell me and let me deal with it as I deal with it? So let me know.
Yeah, answer that, Albany, for him, because that's important, but I can relate to you in the sense that even still, I can emotionally handle things, but I'll have a reaction. I will react. And a lot of times people won't tell me things because they know I'll have a reaction. Um, and and I will. But if you don't tell me, I'm also going to have a reaction. And that reaction is traumatic, right? That reaction is what causes me to recite things over. Well, why wouldn't you tell me? You don't think I could. And every time you bring it back up, you send your body through an experience, right? So Clarence, and I apologize. You, my brother. I know it doesn't strike you wrong, but if you start talking about your mother's death right now, your body is going to go through what it experienced when you first heard it, and when you recited it the second time, and when you told yourself this is really it the third time. So that's why today, like if I start talking about certain things, I'll start to cry, and I tell people like I'm fine, like I'm really fine, but your subconscious is reminding your body of the experience as you recall the incident, and so that's how trauma really sets in and you say, "Oh, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm not upset about it. It's a body response." And so, I think being in shock alone is something that could help reinforce that trauma even deeper. Um, and I get that your family carries it this way, and that you even admitted that you can't emotionally handle these things. And I think that's also important to know for yourself. I think that you need to figure out. Um, what the balance is for you in terms of how can I feel trauma, because it's just gonna it's human, we're humans, as human, trauma is gonna happen. I can go get in my car right now, God forbid, and there's a bad accident. There's just no way to necessarily navigate life without it. But how can you experience trauma without it transitioning over into a traumatic experience? That's the real crux of what I've found healing in, and I think many others who found healing in, based on the research I've done and things that I've done to prepare for what we're talking about tonight. And I really think having a happy medium or a balance between the two would really help to deal with those situations and help you recover quicker, because essentially that's what it is. It's like a recovery. Like how quickly can you recover? It's called a refractory period. CJ, I'm sure you know, but it's like how quickly do you recover from something? So like when you first start working out, you're sore for a lot longer of a time. Yeah, you're sore. You're much more sore for a lot longer of the time than once you're done working out for 3-4 months. You might be sore for a day. If you even get sore anymore, you might just notice the fact that your muscles are growing, right? So it's kind of like that. I hope that makes sense, Albany. I hope you had a chance to answer Clarence's comment, and we're gonna come back to this when you do. Courtney said,
I need to jump in here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I need to jump in real quick and look at Courtney's comment. I just looked up the book I'm reading. And by God's grace, it is not um, Carter G. Woodson's The Miseducation of the Negro. I am reading The Souls of Black Folk.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I read at least 2 to 3 books a month, and so sometimes I'll put one down. You know what I picked up this week as I'm finishing The Souls of Black Folk real quick is the Treasury of David. I'm
You,
ready for her.
you done? You ain't
I'm
hear my
ready for it.
you ain't hear my chime.
I'm ready for it.
The
I'm done.
Treasury of David that you stole out of my library.
I'm ready for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Courtney,
been calling me, bruh.
shut up, shut up. Courtney said my grandfather's death took a lot out of me. Yeah, I've seen you post about your grandfather a lot. Actually, Courtney, I remember talking to you when he passed, and I know that's a perfect example of trauma. Somebody that you're extremely close to, that you've relied on, that you've been a confidant of, and then all of a sudden, they transition, and having to live without the person continually makes it so much easier to reinforce that trauma that it becomes traumatic. And if you aren't careful, you're saying, if so, I won't speak for you. I'll speak in my situation. I say a lot, and I've been trying to catch myself often, but like I used to always say, if my mother were here, dot dot dot, right? And I don't even know if the statements that I make are actually necessarily true. However, it opens my body back up to the experience of the fact that she's not, and opening my body back up to that experience sends it through something, and it reinforces every time it goes through. It's like a muscle. It roots that seed a little bit more deeper. So I feel you, and I felt you, and I knew that that's what you were going through when he passed. And I know how much your grandfather meant to you and your kids and your family. Just even working with your son, teaching your son. But I think remembering those good moments and those good times when you feel that trauma setting in is what's going to revert the experience that you go through, and then it's going to take a long time, but after time, when you start to have those thoughts of your grandfather, you're going to have pleasant body experiences as opposed to those negative traumatic ones. So thank you for sharing that, though. We do, excuse me, definitely appreciate it. Ava said a whole bunch of stuff. Ava said Ava said, there are so many types of secondhand trauma right now. Knowing people with COVID, police kill, yeah, police killings, racism, it's too much TEW.
Call a
Uh,
roll.
she liked our sound effects. She said, "Oh, sound effects, y'all fancy." Unlike Albany, I feel like people tell me everything too much, and that can be trauma too. And she corrected you about Carter G. Sam corrected you.
Yes,
I'm sorry. They
yes.
had the same
Sam
color
corrected me as
emoji.
well.
Yeah. So he did it in private and public, huh? That's my man. Like, let me make sure I
The sound
correct you on
effects
all
account.
ends.
Yes.
So Ava, yeah, and that's a trauma that I experience a lot too. A lot of people dump a lot of things on me, um, which is cool. That's my calling. That's what I do. But it still takes a toll. It still becomes heavy, and if I don't release that energy properly, it can. It's so secondhand trauma can be so weird because you feel like you're experiencing it yourself. Like you feel like you just died. I hear a lot of people that have someone pass on say, "I feel like a part of me has died." you know, and secondhand trauma can become so tricky because your subconscious doesn't consider all the things that your conscious considers. So when your subconscious hears like a part of me died, it sends your body through through an experience. And to times with today, COVID and police killings and rape, that is a lot of secondhand trauma. To watch that over and over again, to watch videos, to watch people holding cameras as somebody dies, right? As a black man, that's traumatic to me. It's normal to me. It's normal, but it's traumatic. It's so normal that I don't feel any. I don't know, but it is still traumatic, and it still sows a seed. And I think it's important to disconnect and have time for yourself. When people are dumping on you, a lot time for that, but a lot time for yourself to be able to decompress for that as well. What you think about that, CJ?
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to find personal space. You have to find me time. and you have to be able to take out the trash. I like to tell people all the time, eat the meat and spit the bones out. Empathize with them, you know, but don't try to take it back home with you. And so, take from it what you can. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm gonna be praying for you. But like Ava said, there's so many things coming at us at once. And then you got family. Now you starting to really like know tangible people that got COVID. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
not just you watching TV and the cases has risen.
Right.
Now you got people that was at your house last week, or stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. You know what I mean? It's like, man, it's getting closer. And so, yeah, I feel you. Yeah, you're right. That's all I got.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Ava. Brittany said, yes, Lord, the physicality of psychological trauma, it takes a toll. Yes, it does. She also said, I relived the grief of losing my grandmother too, me and my daughter. And that's so natural. So, Chanel and Courtney, as you can see, it is a very, very common thing to rehearse that trauma or that grief around death because that is the biggest form of secondhand trauma. It is by far the biggest, and it is the biggest killer in terms of trauma. Secondhand trauma, not primary trauma. So people can get into a car wreck and have 23 surgeries and live, but if someone really close to them passes, many times that in some way takes them out, be it drinking or many different types of
Yeah.
forms of death, or just even not even going on with life. It doesn't necessarily have to be death. So it amazes me how your body can endure, but your mind, in terms of the things that we care for and cater to, really takes a toll around like losing people. Um, and I'm sure you and your daughter um, have a lot of grief to relive, with your grandmother especially. But again, like when those grieving moments come in, it's and it's so hard. I hate always saying things like it's just so practical and so like all you got to do is this. But rechanneling that energy, retraining your mind to be able to support yourself and in the way of saying, let me remember good times about my grandmother. And when my daughter is struggling with, grieving, let me make her laugh about something that Let me change the narrative in her brain. You got to kind of reconstruct it to when she feels those triggers, she feels joy instead of trauma. I hope that makes sense, because that's what it's essentially about, is reverting your brain to be triggered. If you may smell the scent of your grandmother, and instead of you sending you down a downward spiral, you might tell a joke about one time, she sprayed too much perfume on her. So I'm just making up things, but to show you an example of how that work needs to take place in order for it to bring healing. You got your kids bothering you? I keep my kids in check, bro. I don't know what you doing over there. My kid's sitting right next to me. You ain't heard them once. It's like they're not
Well,
in.
let's see.
They not in. Do you have anything to comment on that about the Brittany? I relived the grief of losing my
Yeah,
grandmother. I know you can relate to that.
yeah. You know, Chase had to deal with. He had gone through some grief. What
Share
I'll say
share
real
share
quick
who
is,
share who Chase is.
one of the things huh?
Share who Chase is.
Oh, Chase, my daughter. She's how's Chase now? 6. So my mom died on Chase's third birthday, and my
Right.
mom died suddenly. And so, as we're preparing for this birthday the day before, that Sunday morning, mom is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for us, for the rest of our lives, we'll have to. I wrote once in a journal that my daughter will always ask me on her birthday, Daddy, why are you crying?
Mm-hmm.
And every year I gotta be able to share that day of joy with a day of pain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so my daughter used to cry so much after that, and I didn't know why. And she would bust out crying, and because she was 3 at the time, she was unable to articulate what was going on. And so I sought help. And one of the things the doctor shared with me is empathize their safety.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know that whatever happened, because children fear death. For a while after that, my kids, if if somebody told them they would die from something, they would become hysterical. Like
Yeah, that's how my son
one
is.
time, one of my sisters told them, yeah, one time one of my sisters told my kids that they will die from swallowing chewing gum. Lord have mercy before they
Mm.
swallow some chewing gum, and it was pandemonium in my house. My children were beside themselves, and so I have to empathize with them, but let them know that they're safe. You know, I know, and let them know that what happened. You have to try, in my opinion, try to bring them back to reality and let them know we're okay, even though grandma left, even though so and so happened, and that's what I had to tell Chase. Even though grandma left, we're okay. She left us okay. We're okay. Even if we don't have everything we had, which was her, we have what God gave us, and we're okay. And sometimes it's hard to explain that to kids, but just try to empathize with her safety and let her know she's safe. Y'all waking up some stuff in me, and now I just want to go to him and
Well,
pray or something.
that's what we're here for, man. We're here for us first and everybody else secondary. Brittany said she expressed her condolences. She said,
Just
"Oh no, I'm so
eavesdropping.
sorry." Huh?
I said everybody else get a chance to eavesdrop.
Yeah, I know, right? Get all in our stuff. I almost said it, Pastor.
Sam,
Sam said, "Great show, guys. Keep up
I
the good
said,
work."
can't work.
You want to hear this?
Say again.
Sam said, "Great show, guys. Keep up the good work. Rest in peace, Miss Sheila." Absolutely, rest in peace, Miss Sheila. Rest in heaven. We appreciate you for leaving this jerk down here with us to be on live, if nothing else, and
No
smile
better
from
way, Doctor.
ear to ear. You remember that little mouth thing that you wind it up and you put it down and do like this,
Yeah,
huh?
You
Brittany
know what
said,
this is?
Brittany said, "Amen, thank you." I almost said
You
something.
ever seen one of these?
I almost said
I
something.
I, I told this guy in the
Brittany
house.
said,
Um,
"Amen, thank you."
bless you, Brittany.
Ava
Yo,
said,
Robert.
Ava said, y'all keep commenting so I ain't got to listen to this. Ava said, "Thank you for providing this outlet weekly." Ava, we appreciate you commenting and sharing that. Thank you for joining us weekly. I think you've been here with us all 13 sessions. And we've had a lot of technical difficulty. We're still early starting on. We've only done this 13 times. And that's been that's a little over 3 months. So
God has been
it's
good.
absolutely it's a milestone, but please stick with us to 113, and really embark on this journey of healing together, because we really do take it serious, and we really do get a lot of gratification out of being there for people each and every week. I can't imagine how many people. I can't tell you how many people pour out their expressions of gratitude and really use the things that we talk about, throughout the week and share their experiences with me. I always ask them to share in here. They never do, but it's cool. I'm glad that we are of service and of help, because this definitely helps me, and I know it helps Clarence as well. So
Absolutely.
for the last, this is where we transition into the solution-oriented portion of our support group in terms of how can we deal with secondhand trauma, and in terms of being a being. I'm trying to think of how to put it in a way that it makes sense. Sometimes my thoughts are kind of lofty and weird, like my son. Um, but be don't laugh at my son, yo. Uh,
He he's a genius, though. I don't know too much
he
about
is,
you.
he's just weird. We both geniuses. We just weird.
I don't trust him though.
That's fine. You ain't
You
got to.
know.
So that trauma for me, I won't share like legal definitions and things like that. But trauma for me um, is extreme grief rehearsed, and if you rehearse it too many
Right.
times, it's like kind of like if you do something, it's an action, but if you continue to do it, it'll become a habit, and if you continue to do it, it'll become a behavior, and if you continue to do it, it'll become character. You know what I mean? And if you continue to do it, it'll become your demeanor. Like that is the same pathway for trauma. It can get so deep the more you practice that thing over and over and over. So one of the greatest tools um, of dealing with trauma is being present. Um, and that's one of the hardest things that a lot of people, especially in a capitalist society like America, a lot of people can't do. I hear a lot of people reach out to me and they ask me, like, what does it mean to be present? It means to only be focusing on the moment that you have now.
Okay.
And you only focus on the things that you have control of now. And if you don't have any control, if you can't do anything to attribute to the change now, it's kind of like disciplining yourself enough to put it on pause. My mother's birthday
Yeah.
is in 2 days, and my brother wants me to take he and my sister to her burial site. Um, they had never been. I took my brother last year. He had gone for the first time because when we were kids, they didn't go to the funeral. For a long story. When I took him, Clarence, I hadn't been to my mother's grave in 20 years. And I had the exact same experience my body had when I was going there to bury her. And he'll tell you,
Okay.
it was bad. And we had another person in the car, and he was even afraid that I was going to crash, because nobody else knew how to get there but me. But my body just suddenly started going through something, and it was the re-triggering of that. So being able to step into trauma, and not be impacted by it by being present is a way to help combat that, and that's what I mean. So dealing with the moment, if I had dealt with the moment like I'm supporting my brother to go see his mother and show her where she's buried, instead of focusing on my mother and the trauma behind it. Does that make sense? No.
I think what you're saying is taking you out of the equation and just focusing on his needs.
I think it's taking everything but the present out of the equation. Because
Mm.
sometimes you might be the present. Like right now, I need to take care of me. I
Right.
can't. I can't. Like Ava said, I can't hear people dumping on me right now because I got a lot of stuff that I'm already dealing with or sorting out. So being able to carve that space out and say presently at this moment, I can't be that. Right? Like I'm sorry, I just can't be that. Um, really helps to curb that appetite to try to rehearse traumatic things to reinforce it. Because our brain doesn't want to torture us. It just wants to understand. It just wants all the information.
Right.
And so we start to rehearse that thing over and over again to try to figure out exactly, what the misconstruction was in order to be able to make sure that if it happens again, we don't fall victim to the same situation, and we don't realize how much we're actually embedding it into our body and into our mind state. Um, so I thank you for
Like
sharing
chewing
that.
on it like cud.
Like what?
Like cud. It's like,
Mm,
that trauma that you just keep bringing it up and over and just
mm,
letting it go down and then bring it back
yeah.
up and then eat it again and then
It's weird that you even mentioned like chewing something. What? Anyway, uh, Ava
with
says.
some razor sharp 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 teeth.
Ava, you be so
With
mad. You
dagger
you
teeth.
mad. You don't even got a beard, yo.
You got dolphin, you got dolphin
Yo,
teeth,
where your
yo.
beard? Where your beard, yo?
Where your hairline at? Let me see something.
Where you
Hold up,
get
let me
that?
see something.
Where you get that little necklace from? Let me put my chains on. But let me share Ava comment first. Ava said that takes a lot of mental strength to
Back up
tell.
or you bite that screen, boy. Back up or
Ava
you bite that screen.
Ava said that takes a lot of mental strength to tell your mind what to do in a traumatic situation. It really does. And it's not a perfect
That's a
science
lot of
either.
mental control.
Hmm.
I said that is a lot of mental control.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's it's not something that really is easy. It's something that I fail at often, personally, and I'm able to be strong for myself in retrospect after the fact. But like I said earlier, like I'm going to have a reaction, and it's something that I work on, each and every day. I don't say it as if it's me accepting it. I say it as if I'm aware of how I introduce trauma into my body by first onsetting that experience and then reliving it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So it does take a lot of mental strength, but it also takes a lot of physical strength to lift a car. So somebody who has a desire to do that, they just start working out until they get strong enough to be that. And I think mentally, if we put that energy into ourselves, we can be as mentally strong as whatever we need to be in order to lift whatever we need. We got a few more comments. Did you want to comment on that first, Clarence?
No, because we need to get through those, bro, and I'll save most of my stuff for the end.
All right, cool. Nasasha said, Tony said, what's up, Robert? What's up, Tony? Oh, Tony won. So I thought you watched by yourself. I'm glad Tony watching. I guess Tony wanted to comment because Sam only Sam comment. Where the guys at, man? They be texting me like, good stuff, bro. But thanks for watching, Tony. We appreciate you. Tiffany's back, Clarence. Thanks for joining us. Finally, Tiffany at 8:20. It's like, I hope you've been here this whole time. Tiffany said, I find it hard talking about my mom and father who died. I finally, I guess it should say, had to look at a photo. I feel guilty to say that I've tried to let go of memories of them at times. There was a lot of trauma surrounding my mother's death because when my mom passed at the time, I grieved hard because although she had cancer, I strongly felt she died sooner than she had to because of my father over medicating her while he was on drugs. That's heavy. And I definitely can relate to you.
Let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
I know,
what's
right?
her name?
That's Tiffany.
Tiffany. Wow, Tiffany. You know, that's heavy. That's a lot to get over because you then want to find somebody to blame. You know, you hurt so bad, and you feel like the only reason you hurt is because of something that somebody else could have done better or should have done better, and you wouldn't have this pain had somebody whose responsibility it was to take care of it had done their job, and now you're living the rest of your life. That's heavy. That's heavy, and it's so like I think it was Ava who said it. It is so hard to pull yourself mentally into telling yourself, "Oh, it's gonna be okay."
Yeah.
That is so hard to do. Robert, when Sheila died, I wanted to only think about the things that she did while she was alive to make me mad so that I could have reason to not want to think about her all day. Does that make sense? So I didn't want to think about the good stuff. I just wanted to think about the stuff, the bad stuff she did, because that would force me to be able to get through a day without thinking about the fact that she's gone or without missing her. Let me just be honest. I tried to force myself not to miss her, you know, and I went and I talked to my father in ministry, my spiritual coach, and I said to him, I said, Bishop, is that normal? And he said, yeah, because your mind wants you to get over the pain your body feels. So your mind is going to tell you do whatever you need to do to get over that. And so I empathize with Tiffany because, and I don't want to compare stories, but I just feel like what she just said to me is just harder than what I had to. You know, that's tough, man.
Yeah, Tiffany has definitely
I
had
wrote
a
your
lot.
name down, Tiffany, because I want to pray for you.
I don't know if you remember, but when you shared your experience with losing your mom and your marriage around the same time, she shared that she, went through a similar experience as well with, her marriage and her mom, and now, her dad too. She said, I was scared and afraid to say that for a long time. She told me she was afraid of him several times before she died. I forgave my father and tried to let it go. Tiffany, this is exactly what this group is for, and I appreciate you sharing almost each and every week and being transparent and really taking your healing seriously. Tiffany's one of the ones that reaches out and talks to me about us, Clarence, and how much the things that we discuss that she incorporates, helps her. And so, Tiffany, I hope this helps you right here. Don't try to let it go anymore. Just let it go. And just be free from it and allow all of your memories to just be memories. To just be memories. To just be memories. If I say to Clarence right now, Clarence, remember that time you had to shave your teeth down? See, he going to get upset right now because it was traumatic for him. Instead of just saying, yeah, they grew too long, rats' teeth don't stop growing. I had to shave my junk. Smile real quick. Smile.
We're going to smile together. One.
I only show my top teeth when I smile. So we can smile together. I don't care.
Well, they're the ones I'm talking about. I was going to get to the bottom ones next.
You saw that? Tiffany, but all seriousness, I was just trying to make you laugh, Tiffany. But
look at it. Right.
In all seriousness.
I will see when it's there.
Say again. I think you were breaking up. What you say to her?
No, I was just